Hello team and welcome back to the channel. So today's video is going to be really interesting because we are making another ultimate CICD pipeline project. Okay, and team, it's a humble request, please subscribe to the channel and watch this video till end. Why I'm saying that? Because if you don't watch this video till end, you might face some issues while doing the setup and everything. But if you watch the video till end, you won't face any single issue. Why? Because everything I'm going to do from scratch, and if you're following the same steps, you won't face any issue. Okay, so make sure to subscribe and make sure to watch this video till end. Also, for my Hindi audience, so I have started new channel DevOps Hindi, where I have started a free bootcamp also on DevSecOps. So if you are new to DevOps, want to learn everything from scratch, you can check out this series. I have started, as of now I have uploaded 5 videos, and every day one video I upload. Okay, so make sure to subscribe here as well and follow the videos if you are Hindi audience. Okay, now let's talk about what kind of project we are going to do and how we are going to do everything. Okay, first of all, as I said, it's going to be a full stack project, front end, back end, and a database, and fully dynamic project will be there. Okay, and minimum operations that we would be able to do in it are CRUD operations. Okay, which I'll explain in a bit. Now, in order to make everything very simple and very easy to work with, I'm going to divide everything in sections or phases, you can say. Okay, for example, first phase we are going to set up infra and the tools. Second phase we are going to set up our Git repository. Third phase we are going to start writing the pipeline from scratch so that you can learn even writing the pipelines. Okay, fourth step, and also team, while writing the pipeline, we are also going to write the Docker file so that you can understand how exactly it works. Okay, so after that we are going to perform the deployment, and after deployment we are going to send mail notifications also to ourselves so that we can see if our pipeline is successful or failed over the mail. Okay, finally, after all these things, we are going to monitor the application using monitoring tools like Grafana and Prometheus. Okay, so it's like a crash course for you in DevOps. Everything will be included within it. Okay, yeah. So with that being said, let's get started. First of all, let me explain you what kind of application we are going to deploy. So firstly, it's a full stack application having a front end, back end, and a H2 database, which is a dynamic one. Okay, also you'll be able to perform CRUD operations. Okay, you can create something, you can delete something, you can update something, you can read details from it. Okay, so you can see this is a super spy application. So let us do one thing. Let us create mission first. Mission title, you can say like you can say ki 𝗘𝗲𝗿𝗀. Okay, and to which hero you want to assign, you have 3 heroes, you can just assign any one of them. Let's say I want to assign it to 𝗗𝗲𝗃𝗀 gadget 1. Okay, you can say I'll give it some gadget like magical gun or something. Then I can let's say second gadget I can give like magic shoes. Okay, and you can create the mission. Now this mission is assigned to 𝗗𝗲𝗃𝗀. Now if I want to view missions, I can select the like hero for which I want to view missions. For example, 𝗗𝗲𝗃𝗀. Click on that and we can see the mission. So as of now, 𝗗𝗲𝗃𝗀 is having 2 missions. Talking about CRUD operations, here you can modify these details, you can delete them. Okay, update and delete. Okay, similarly we can create other missions also. For example, let's say by laptop, any kind of thing, you can just put it there. Let's say I want to give it to Natasha Romanoff, and gadget will be knife. Gadget 2 will be something like let's say magical perfume. Okay, create the mission, and again if I want to view the missions, I can select the hero, click on go, and I can see the details. Okay, so in total we are able to do all sort of things like CRUD operations, create, delete, update, and modify everything. Okay, so yeah, this is the application that we are going to see today. And yeah, as you can see, it has a proper UI and it is having a inbuilt H2 database. Okay, so that's what we are going to build today. So team, before I explain everything, all the phases in detail, let me explain you in short. Phase 1, we are going to set up all the tools. Basically infra we are going to set up. Phase 2, we are going to set up our source code. Phase 3, we are going to create our CICD pipeline where we are going to have everything from building application, security aspect, and everything else. Okay, and we are going to deploy the application. Phase 4, we are going to monitor the deployed application. This is what we are going to do in the 4 phases. Now let me explain you in detail. So team, for those who are looking for dedicated training sessions on DevSecOps and Cloud DevOps and you want to learn from me, you can enroll to this batch. In this batch, we are having live sessions on weekends, and we are having recorded videos on the weekdays. And trust me, this course is completely focused on learning real-time experience. So whatever, like how things happen in real time in DevOps, that's what I try to teach you. Okay. For me, I have worked on more than 35 projects at this point, and from that experience, I try to tell you or explain to you like how real-time things happen, how many clusters, what is the real branching strategies, and what kind of clusters we have, what is the configuration of those. So everything we are going to do hands-on. So if you're interested, you can enroll to this batch. This batch has started. If you miss any of the videos, live videos, you can still have the recorded version of that video so that you can watch it later. Okay. Yeah. So if interested, make sure to join. And if you need any details, you can just ping me on Telegram at @DevOpsChat. Let us first understand what are the phases that we are going to follow. So starting with phase 1. Okay. And as I say, I'm dividing everything in phases so that it's easier to understand. Okay. So in first phase, what we are going to see, first of all, we are going to create multiple virtual machines. Okay, give me 1 second. Yeah, so first of all, we are going to create multiple virtual machines. Why we need to create? Because we need to set up tools like Jenkins, SonarQube, Nexus. These are the 3 tools that we are going to use specifically for setting up our tools. Okay, these are the 3 tools that we need to set up. Talking about second thing, so we need to create a deployment cluster. What cluster we are going to create? A Kubernetes cluster, and in that case also we are going to set up EKS, which is a cloud Kubernetes cluster managed by AWS team. Okay, so this will be our first phase 1, where we are going to set up all the tools needed. Okay, talking about phase 2. So in phase 2, what we are going to do, we are going to set up a Git repo. We are going to set up Git repo, push our code in it. Okay, so that we have a code ready which we can use to for the CICD part. Okay, talking about phase 3. So in phase 3, what we are going to do? In phase 3, we are going to create pipeline. Okay, and while creating the pipeline, we'll be having the CICD, plus I'm also going to add the mail notifications. The reason for adding the mail notification is that we can receive notification email over our email address that pipeline is success or failed. Okay, because in companies this is what we do. Okay, this is going to be phase 3. Talking about phase 4. So phase 4, what we are going to do in phase 4, we are going to perform monitoring on the deployed application, right? So these are the 4 phases that we are going to perform so that we can see everything clearly and we can like execute everything step by step. Okay, so now with that being said, let us get started with the phase 1. So now talking about phase 1, so what things we'll be needing in phase 1? So in phase 1, first of all, we need a VM for Jenkins, right? Another VM we are going to need for SonarQube setup. Another VM we are going to need for Nexus setup. Okay, these 3 VMs will be needing, and then we need to set up our EKS cluster, right? So these 4 things, these 4 steps that we need to perform in phase 1. Okay, so let us do that right now. Okay, so first of all, what you need to make sure that you have a AWS account created so that you can use that to create your virtual machines. Okay, let me minimize it and let me go to here and let me log in with my account. And as a suggestion team, make sure that you are having MFA code enabled so that it is kind of secure, and the code you can get on your phone in a tool like Authenticator. And let me provide the code, which is 824121. Sorry about that. 4121. Okay, so now we are logged in, right? And as of now, we are not having any instances or virtual machines created, right? So let us create virtual machines. Okay, and here I'm going to create 3 virtual machines in one go. You can create separately one by one if you require like different configurations. For example, let's say I want to create Jenkins server with how much I want to give more resources to Jenkins, and okay, and I'm going with the latest version of Ubuntu, which is 24.04. okay, and instance size. So for Jenkins, since in Jenkins we are going to do a lot of things, so I'm going to set up 𝗘𝗏𝗏 having 8 GB of RAM and having 2 CPU, 2 vCPU. Okay, key pair which is already present on my local. In case you are not having a key pair present on your local, you can click on create new key pair, provide a name, make sure it is RSA and PEM format, and click on create. This will create a new key pair and it will be downloaded on your local system as well. Okay, talking about networks, so I have a network security group created. Okay, and let me show you the ports that I have opened on my machine so that you can understand like what ports you need to open. So if I go to security group, let it load, not sure why it's taking time. Yeah, so this is the one, and inbound rules, these are the ports that I have opened. Okay, except this you can open rest of the ports. This may not be needed, so except this you may open all the ports that you can see. You can just take a screenshot and you can open all of them. Okay, so once you have opened that and once we have selected that network security group, we can provide some storage. So how much storage we need to give? So I'm going to give 25 GB. Okay, click on launch. So this is like our Jenkins created. Okay, and as I said, for Jenkins I'm going to give 𝗘𝗏𝗏𝗏. Okay, now let us create 2 more instances for SonarQube and Nexus. So I'm going to create here itself. I'm providing the name to providing the number of instances as 2. Okay, name I'm not giving here as of now. 1.2 machine, version will be 24.04, and talking about instance, so here I'm going to take T2 medium. Okay, talking about key pair, again same key pair we are going to use which I have on local, and security group also the one that I explained, launch wizard 2. Okay, storage, talking about storage, so I'm going to give them 20 GB of storage. Launch instance. Okay, and now let me refresh the page so that both, yeah, now let me just rename them one by one so that it's easier for me to understand. Okay, so this is SonarQube server, this is going to be Nexus server. Remember that I have not yet configured or installed these tools on these servers as of now, right? And as you can see, these are in currently running status. Okay, so as of now what we have done, 3 virtual machines we have created for Jenkins, SonarQube and Nexus. Now let us set up 𝗘𝗏𝗃𝗀 cluster. Okay, talking about the steps to create 𝗘𝗏𝗃𝗀 cluster, so that you'll be able to find on the link in the description. Okay, now first of all what we need to do, we need to create a new user, because it's not recommended that you use your root account to create the cluster. Okay, so what I'm going to do, first of all, let us go to IAM anti-access management, where we can create the user. Okay, and let it open. Okay, so here we have user. I'm going to create new user. Click on here and I'm going to create 𝗘𝗏𝗃𝗀 create cluster. Any name you can put. I'm just putting 𝗘𝗏𝗃𝗀 create cluster user. Okay, and here also I will be giving access, and I want to create IAM user and custom password. So I'm going to give the password as, let's say something Aditya @123. Show password @123, and this option I'm just unchecking so that I don't need to create new password. Okay, click on next. So new user has been created. Okay, and I'll just, okay, it is by default. Click on next and create user. So user we have created as of now. Okay, now coming back here, yeah, return to user list, continue. So we have this new user, right? I'm going to open it, and we need to assign some certain policies that are needed in order to create the 𝗘𝗏𝗃𝗀 cluster. Okay, so we are going to click on add permissions, click on add permissions, and here we need to search for certain groups. Sorry, we need to select this option, attach policies directly, click on that, and now we need to search for policies here. Which policies? So that list you will be able to get here. As I said, the link will be in the description. First policy I just selected. Okay, second policy we have CNI policy, which is for specifically for networking task, so we are going to select that. Third policy we have 𝗘𝗏𝗃𝗀 cluster policy for our 𝗘𝗏𝗃 cluster management, that also have selected. After that we are going to select worker node policy, because there will be worker node also allocated along with our 𝗘𝗏𝗃 cluster. Okay, then cloud formation and access. Why I'm giving that? Because the whole cluster will be created using the resources of the cluster will be created using this cloud formation. And then IAM full access. Okay, these are the roles policies attached. There is one more policy that we need to attach, which is going to be inline policy. That means you need to copy this, go back here, click on this next. As of now we have added these permissions, right? Now again click on add permissions, create inline policy JSON, and first of all select everything, remove everything and paste it, okay, the one that you copied. Click on next, and you can provide the name as 𝗖𝗍𝗃 inline policy. Again, as I said, you can put any name you want, but just it should be relevant. Okay, create. So as of now you can see these are the permissions that I have given, okay, to that user. Now again we will go to user, open the user, click on security credentials, and you see this option access keys. So click on create access key, select the first option, click on I understand and click on next. It's going to create username and password which you can download in CSV format. Okay, so I'll download it, click on done. Now what we have done, we have created the user that is responsible for creating the EKS cluster, because as I said, we are not going to use our root account to create the cluster. Okay, now how do I create the cluster using that user? So for that, first of all, make sure that you have this tool installed, 𝗭𝗲𝗃𝗍. It's available for free. There are professional version, but I suggest install the home edition, which is free. Click on download now. And I always recommend to use the portable version. Why? Because if you are in company and you want to use 𝗭𝗲𝗃𝗍, still you can use the portable version. It won't cause any issues. Okay, so you can install this. Once you have installed this, you can go to your download section wherever it is there. This is the portable version. Okay, click on that and it will open. Let me remove the previous server so I can create everything from new. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to click on session, click on SSH. Okay, now one more thing here, as I mentioned, we created Jenkins Sonar Nexus. Okay, for creating the EKS cluster, what we can do, we can either go into Jenkins server, run the command to create cluster, or we can have separate VM for creating the cluster. Whichever you prefer, both will work fine. So for now, just to save resources, what I'm going to do, I'm going to go inside this specific VM and run the commands from there to create the cluster. Okay, as I say, if you do it from different VM, that will also work fine. So click on session, click on SSH, and here we need to provide the information about IP addresses. So we are going to go to AWS EC2 and instances. As of now, we are having 3 instances, right? So I open Jenkins, copy the public IP address, paste it here, username. So Ubuntu username is Ubuntu, and advanced SSH. So we need to provide the information about private key. Basically, we need to provide the location where the private key is located. So we are going to click on browse, and here somewhere, yeah, this is. So I selected, click on OK. And you can see it is able to connect, right? Just for proper user-friendly format, what I'm going to do, I'm going to rename this to Jenkins server. Okay, and you can customize also using 𝗭𝗃𝗍. I'll just go with red. Click on OK. Let me close this and let us open it again. Okay, now it looks better. Let me increase the size. First command that you are supposed to run always is sudo apt update. Once you run this, so basically there are many tools and packages available in the default repository of Linux, this one. So they are, in order to use them, they need to be updated. Okay, and for that only we ran the command sudo apt update. Okay, so now it's done, and now whichever package we want to install, we can install it. Okay, first thing that we need to do now, going back here, this step is done. Now we need to install these 3 CLIs. CLI is what? Command line interface. Basically, it's a way to interact with certain server or tool. For example, we have AWS CLI. So this we are going to use to interact with AWS account. Okay. Then we have kubectl, which is also a CLI for interacting with Kubernetes cluster. Then we have 𝗖𝗍𝗃𝗦𝗀. Now this is a CLI that is going to be used for creation of the EKS cluster. So all these 3 we need to install. So let me copy from here to here first. Forget about AWS configure, that we are going to do afterwards. Okay. Now running command one by one, it's not feasible. So what we are going to do, we are going to create scripts. Okay. And I'm going to create first a directory so I can keep the script separately. I'm going to provide scripts. Okay, let us go inside scripts, and now we are going to create script 1, which is for, or maybe in one script I can put everything, right? Okay, vi1.sh. Okay, so now I can paste the command here. Okay, this is for AWS CLI. Second one that we have is kubectl, so that also I'll be copying and I'll paste it here. This is the benefit ki one single shell script you can create, and in that you can run multiple commands all together. Okay, and for 𝗘𝗲𝗃𝗧 also I'll be copying this and pasting it here. Okay, so now all three tools will be installed. Okay, so let me save this WQ, and now as of now you see it's white in color. That means it's not executable, so we need to make it executable. I'm going to run command sudo chmod +x. +x means for current user I'm giving the execute permissions, and 1.sh. Now if I run ls, you can see it's green in color. That means it is not executable, right? So I will execute it by running /1.sh. Now it's going to run all the commands. All the commands means all three commands. Okay, AWS CLI, kubectl, and 𝗘𝗲𝗃𝗧. So let's wait for this to complete. Once it is completed, we need to run this command, AWS configure, to configure our EKS cluster user, the user that we created. If I go back here again, in IAM, we should be able to see users. And here we have EKS cluster, EKS create cluster user. Okay, so this is the user with which we want to connect from our VM to AWS account. Okay, now as of now, all three CLIs are installed. Okay, now we need to run command AWS configure. As soon as you run it, it's going to ask access key ID. Now what is access key ID? So if you remember, while going to user, we created credentials, right, in access keys. Now that one was downloaded on my local. So if I open that, I can show you. Okay, so these are secret credentials. Okay, so this is the access key ID. I'll copy that, paste it here, then secret access key, that also we can copy from here and paste it here. Okay, it is asking for default region name. Now for default region name, what you need to make sure ki you are choosing the location which is nearest to you. For me, since I am in India, so its nearest location for me, it's Mumbai. So I'll type it. Yeah, Mumbai also has a code. You see here code AP-South1, right? So I'm going to type that AP-South-1, click enter. Default output format, just click enter. You don't need to put anything there. Okay, now what just happened, that we are connected to our AWS account from this VM. With which user? This user. Where is it? That EKS create cluster user. With that user we are connected now. Okay, now what we need to do, next step would be to execute these commands to install the EKS cluster. Okay, so let us do that as well. First command that we have is this one. Let me copy and let me paste. Now here what you need to do, make sure the name that you are providing, it's something that is not already present or like that. Okay, so I'm going to provide the name as ds-EKS. Okay, and here also region AP-South-1, which is my region, right, Mumbai location. Zones, in zones also select the zone which is nearest to you. Like for me, AP-South-1 A, B. Okay, two region zones I am selecting, and here I am not creating the node group, so there won't be any working node as of now, worker node. Okay, click on OK and click enter. Now it's going to start executing these commands one by one. Okay, and this will take little bit of time. Okay, so yeah, once this is completed, then I'll be back. So team, as of now, this command has been successfully run. Okay, now what we can do, immediately we can go to our AWS account and we can search for EKS or Elastic Kubernetes Service, and here we can see what is created. Okay, interesting thing that you will see here, that the version that we created, it is 1.30, which is latest. I just modified the command. I just added one step, which is version 1.30. Using that we can create a Kubernetes cluster with the latest version. Okay, now that step has been successfully executed. Now we can execute the second step, which is going to be this one. Okay, let me copy this, and we just need to change the name and make sure the region that you are selected is the one that that is nearest to you. Okay, name is 𝗗𝗃𝗃𝗧. Okay, now what is this command? So it's a command that is going to associate 𝗗𝗃𝗿𝗃𝗦𝗃𝗃 provider. What is OIDC? It is Open ID Connect. So basically, you know, when you create resources inside Kubernetes cluster, specifically talking about EKS cluster, so there will be resources that will be needing to create like to assume roles. Why they need to assume roles? They need to assume roles so that they can create certain resources on AWS account. Okay, so for helping them to assume IAM roles, we need to execute this command. Okay, now it will be executed within few seconds. Okay, next step is to create the like how many worker node we want, right? So here, what things that you can see here, first of all, a name you are providing for create like the name to the node group, how many nodes we want, how many minimum nodes should be always available, how many maximum node it can scale up to automatically, and what is the size of node. And after that, we need to provide the key also. Okay, which key? So the key that we have on our local, same name you need to provide. Okay, so let me copy this as well, and let us execute this. Let me clear the screen, copy this, and let me change the name first, ds-eks, and here we need to change the name of key. In my case, I have the key named DevOps, right? And rest these things are fine. So I'm going to simply clear it, click on OK, and let us create the worker nodes as well. Again, it's going to take quite some time. Why? Because CloudFormation is going to create it, and it takes like really a lot of time. So we need to wait like 5 to 10 minutes, and after that it will be completed. Once that is done, then we will proceed to the next step. Okay, which we have to open certain traffic inside our security group for internal traffic, like for internal communication. So yeah, that I'll be showing you. So team, this command is also successfully ran, and next step what we have, we need to go to additional security group. So let us open the cluster. Let me refresh the page once. Okay, and here let us go to networking. This you see additional security group, click on that, and this will take you to like yeah. So in additional security group, basically the description, as you can see here, communication between the control plane and worker node. That means the master node and communication between worker node. So make sure that you are clicking on add inbound rules, add rule, and here we'll open all traffic so that communication can happen, and it will be anywhere. So click on OK. This is going to save it. Okay, once that is done, then we can say okay, our cluster is created. Now first step is completed, the phase 1 is completed. Next phase would be to set up or install Jenkins, Nexus and SonarQube. Okay, so let us do that. So team, now let us set up our Jenkins, SonarQube and other Nexus. Okay, so first of all, let us open Jenkins. Okay, Jenkins is already open here. Let me clear the screen. Now in order to set up Jenkins, what we need to have, the prerequisite for having Jenkins is that you should be having Java installed on your system. So if I run Java, you can see Java is not installed, but we get the command to install it, and I'm going to install JDK 17. So I'm going to copy this -y. Now it's going to install Java. Okay, so once Java is installed, we can start the process of installing the Jenkins. Okay, again, for getting Jenkins, what you can do, you can go to browser, search for install Jenkins. Okay, and you can see the first link, you can click on that, and here on left side you see Docker, Kubernetes, Linux and everything. So based on your requirement, which one you want to use, you can just select that. For me, I'm going to set up Linux, and here we have 3 Linux flavors, right? Generally Ubuntu, since we are using Ubuntu, so we can click on Ubuntu and we get the command here. Okay, now you see multiple commands are there. So what I'm going to run, I'm going to create a script and execute that script. Okay, so I have copied the file, and you see we have folder script. So let us go inside it and let us create script for Jenkins, j.sh. I'll paste the script that I copied. Okay, here make sure that you are putting -y so that no prompt comes. Okay, save this, and now we can make it executable, sudo chmod +x then Jenkins. Okay, and now we can execute this script. Once we execute, so it's going to start installation of Jenkins, and after that is done, then we can start with like configuring Jenkins and other tools as well. Okay, so let's wait for this to complete. Yeah, it may take a little bit of time. Also, team, see, the reason that I took this bigger machine T2 large, because of these things only. In lower machine, if you are taking T2 micro or like little bit above, it's going to be still hanging a lot because it requires a lot of resources for like working with different tools. Okay, so Jenkins is installed. How do I know? So by default, Jenkins port is 8080. So what I can do, I can copy the IP address of the machine, go on browser, paste it here, :8080. Okay, and yeah, you can see we are on getting started page of Jenkins. So here we need to provide administrator password. Where do we get it? On this location. So I'll copy this, go here, write cat and paste it. Now see, it says permission denied. That means key current user, which is Ubuntu, does not have permission to view this file. Okay, so what I can do, I can write sudo cat and then the location, click enter, and now you can see we can see the file. So we will copy this content of the file, that is the administrator password, copy it here, click on OK. Okay, now what is going to happen, we need to select one option from this, and I suggest go with install suggested plugins. So click on that, and it's going to install all the minimum requirement plugins for the Jenkins to work well. Okay, now let it be like in progress. Now we can go back to our virtual machine. And now what we need to do, we need to install Docker on this, because we are going to use Docker within Jenkins as well. So what I'm going to do, I'll type Docker, enter, and we can see Docker is not present, but we can install it. Okay, so either you can install Docker from here, and here we get version 24.0.5, right? Or we can install Docker from the official page. So if I write install Docker, let me write Ubuntu also, click open. So if from here you might be getting the latest version of Docker. So what I'm going to do, again copy the whole thing, go back here and create another script which is going to be Docker, right? And we are going to paste the commands here. So once you have pasted, and let me see if we have any other commands. Yeah, so this is the second command for installing. And if you want to install latest version, select this. If you want to install any specific version, select on here, and then you can select. Okay, so we are going to choose the latest version, copy that, and let me paste it here. Okay, make sure you are writing -y so that prompt should not be coming, but let's see. Okay, so I have saved this, and now let me make it executable. Sudo chmod +x and Docker file, right? Docker shell script file. Click enter. Now let us execute it. It's going to run all the commands required for the installation of. You can see it is asking for a prompt. We will just press enter, and it will continue. So once Docker is installed, one thing that you need to understand that by default, other than root user, other users are not have. What happened just now? It just closed. Not sure. Okay, something happened. Not sure. Some network issue or something. But let's do one thing. Let us go inside scripts again. We have Docker script here, so let me try to execute the Docker script again. Okay, and let's see what happens now. Okay, it's saying unable to locate package Docker compose plugin. 1 second, let me edit the file again. Okay, small mistake we did, we just put -y along with plugin, so I need to make it away. Yeah, now it's good, and now it should not be having any problem. So now let me execute again. See, these small issues will come, but definitely you need to troubleshoot. You need to find out like what exactly is the issue coming. So yeah, so let's wait for this to complete, and then we will see which version we have installed for Docker. It should be latest. Okay, and as I say, by default only root user will be having the permission to execute Docker commands. So in case other users wants to execute Docker commands, what we need to do, so I'll show you. First of all, let us check the version which we have installed. Docker version, we have installed 26.1.3, which is the latest one. Okay, Now if I try to run a docker command using Ubuntu user, let's see what happens. Docker pull hello-world. You see it's giving permission denied. So what we can do, two options we have that we can do. Either we can add our user user mod -a capital G docker, and we can write Ubuntu. So either we can add our user Ubuntu to the docker group and restart so that Ubuntu user will be having permissions, or we can run this command. This will give permissions for executing docker commands for the users as well. So I'm just going to copy that, paste it here. Okay, and now if I try to run docker pull hello world, it should be working fine now. Okay, you can see it works fine. That means key now, as of now, we have done what two things we have done. We have set up this and we have set up this, right? Little bit configuration is required in Jenkins, which we'll be doing later. Now let us set up SonarQube. Okay, so for SonarQube, again I'm going to go here, find the SonarQube VM, get the public IP address, copy that, go to MobiX term, click on star, right click on Jenkins, click on duplicate session, and now click on rename. So renaming we will be doing as Sonar. Color, let me change it to cyan, and here IP address we need to change to the one that is for SonarQube VM. Okay, click on OK and double click here. Now we are in SonarQube virtual machine. Now what I am going to do, first of all, first command sudo apt update. Okay, so let's wait for this to complete. Once it is done, then we are going to set up SonarQube, and I'm going to set up SonarQube using Docker. So that means we are going to create a Docker container for SonarQube. Okay, this is done. Now let us first install Docker. Again, for installing Docker we have multiple options. So I'm going to install latest version of Docker, which is going to be doc.sh, and let me write the script we have for Docker. This one first we're going to copy, and second command we have is this one, -y, save this file. Okay, and let us make it executable. Sudo chmod +x doc.sh. Okay, and now we can execute it. Again, as I said, by default only root user will be having permission to execute Docker commands, right? So in order to make sure that we are also able to execute, we can copy this, or see this permissions, basically it's going to give other users also the permission to execute Docker commands. So, okay, so let's wait for this to complete. Yeah, I guess it's almost completed. Okay, now let us execute this one command, and now we are ready to set up the SonarQube containers. For that we need to run command docker run -d. -d means key running in detached mode. Then let's provide a name also, --- name. I'll provide the name as sonar. Then we need to define the ports, the host port and the container port. First we need to provide the host port, which is the port that is going to be open on this virtual machine. Okay, then container port, that is the port being opened on the container where SonarQube will be running. Okay, here we need to provide the Docker image name, SonarQube 𝗘𝗲𝗿𝗀. Okay, this is the Docker image name. In case you are not knowing okay, if where I can get the SonarQube Docker image name, you can simply go to Google, and here you can search like SonarQube Docker image, something like that, and it will take you to official page. And here you can just select the version which you want to install. You can see this is the SonarQube Docker image name. Okay, by default it's going to select the latest one, but I have selected LTS version, which is kind of stable. Okay, so now I'll click enter, and it's going to install SonarQube Docker container. So let's wait for this. Meanwhile, what we can do, meanwhile it is getting done, we can also create another duplicate session of this. Let us rename this. We are going to call as Nexus. Color I'm going to change to green, and we need to get the IP address of Nexus as well. So for Nexus I have this. I'll copy this and I'll paste it here. Okay, and yeah, Nexus is also set up. Meanwhile, SonarQube container got created. How do I access it? So I'll go to this, get the IP address of SonarQube host machine, copy that, and let us paste it here. And by default, the port that we have set up is 9000. Click enter, and as you can see, it is getting started, right? So it's good. Next step that we are going to do, next step, we need to set up Docker again in Nexus machine, right? So I'll copy this, go to Nexus. Let me run the first command, which is sudo apt update. Okay, this is done. After that, we need to run the command to install Docker. So I'm going to create a script, doc.sh, paste this script here, and one more command that we have, which is this one, -y. Now save this, and now let us make it executable, +x doc.sh, and now we can execute it. Okay, now coming to SonarQube again. So when you set when you try to access SonarQube, it's going to ask for a username, password. So I'm going to put username admin, and password is also going to be admin. So going to provide that, and you can see we are on the first page. So now we need to update the password. So initial password was this one, admin, and next password you can just put anything you want. Okay, click update. Now SonarQube is set up. Okay, coming back to Jenkins. So here also installation of the plugins is done. We need to provide some username and all those configurations. So I'm just going to provide username as Aditya, password also Aditya, confirm password Aditya, full name I can put Aditya Jaiswal, and email address we can put anything because it's not going to be verified immediately. Okay, and since we are doing this just for demo. Okay, click on save and continue, and save and finish. So Jenkins is set up now. Jenkins is set up, SonarQube is set up. Now it's time for Nexus. So for again Nexus, we are going to set up using this one, Docker container. Okay, so coming back to Nexus, click enter, and yeah, again same thing we need to run in Nexus also, sudo chmod, so that permission can be given for executing Docker commands. Okay, let's wait for this to complete. Yeah, it's little bit time taking, but for sure you will learn a lot, how you are setting up tools, how you are doing everything, you will learn. Okay, so this is done. I'll run this command, and now we can, using Docker image of this one, we can create our container for Nexus. Okay, what command do I need to run? Docker run -d for detached mode, -- name we can give, like let's say just Nexus or Nexus 3 -p. So which port Nexus will be running? By default it's 8081. Okay, and here we need to provide the Docker image name, which is sonatype/Nexus. So we are going to install the latest version. Okay, you can see automatically it understood, since we did not provide a tag there, so it understood that we are asking for latest. Okay, so yeah, let's wait for this to complete, because in Nexus little bit of changes we need to do. I'll show you. Okay, so Nexus is done, right? How to access Nexus? We can get the IP address and port we have set up 8081, right? So I'll go here, paste it 8081, and initially Nexus may not be up immediately because Nexus is something that takes little bit of time. You can see it says it's like the site cannot be reached. Okay, just try refreshing few more times and it will be up eventually. Okay, meanwhile we can check the status here also, Docker PS. We can set it, so we can see it's like created 35 seconds ago. Okay, let's wait for this to completely up, refreshing the page one more time. Okay, meanwhile we can check log also if there is any issue, Docker logs. container ID. Okay, I don't see any error log. Okay, but as I say ki Nexus usually takes some time to completely get up. Okay, meanwhile just let me confirm the IP address is correct. 134. Yeah, now you see it's up now. As I said ki if immediately does not come up, do not just get confused or something. Now let's click on sign in. Here we need to provide username, which is going to be admin, and then password, right? Password is present on this location. How do I find this location? So what we need to do, first of all, run this docker ps. Okay, so from docker ps we can get the container ID, right? Once we have container ID, we can go inside it. Docker exec-it. Exec-it means we are asking for interactive terminal so that we can execute commands in that. Okay, after that you need to provide the container ID. After that you need to provide what kind of terminal you want to use. So I'll just going with bash. Okay, and now you see bash 4.4. now we are inside Nexus container. Okay, so now let's go inside sonar type work ls Nexus 3 cd Nexus 3. Again here you see one file admin.password, right? So we can get the content of it. Cat admin.password, we'll paste it and we can get the password, right? So password is going to be from here to here. Do not copy bash also. And now we can put it here. Click on sign in. Next step, and now we can put our new password. Okay, I am going to put just Aditya. Now password is also set up, and I'm going to enable anonymous access as well. Okay, so that like without username also you can like fetch something. Okay, click on finish. So now we have set up all the three tools, and we have set up cluster also. Next step would be source code management part. So we are going to set up our project now. Okay, so let me show you that as well. So team, as of now all the tools have been set up, right? So after setting up phase 1, what is the next phase? Is to set up git repo and push our source code, right? So let us do one thing. Let us go to a GitHub account. Okay, let me log in with my actual account. And so once we are logged in, we can create new project. Okay, new repository I'm going to create. Click on new repository and let's provide the name as mission. Okay, this will be my project name. So now click on create repository. Repository is created, right? Now what we need to do, we need to push our source code. Now pushing source code is something that needs authentication. So previously we were using username password, but at this point we need to use username and token. So I'm going to go to settings. In order to generate the token, go at the end to developer settings, personal access tokens, and let us remove the previous one and let us create a new one. See, do not worry ki if previous one was there you need to remove it. No, if you already having that token on your local, then you can use it. Okay, I'm just going to provide a name, give the scope, like where exactly this token will be having permissions. For example, like I don't give permission to delete repo or delete packages. Okay, after that let's wait for this to let us select no access for deleting repo. And now once you generate token, make sure that you are saving it somewhere, because after you create it you won't be visible afterwards. Okay, so now we have set up the token also, right? So let us go back to our repository, which is this one, mission, right? Now what we are going to do, go and copy the repository URL, which is this one. I'll copy that. Go back to folder where you have the source code of the application, right click, click on show more options. Now you see this option, open git bash. Now you will get this option if you download this tool, git bash. Okay, you can click on download, search git bash, click on download and select the OS that you are having. I'm having Windows, so I'll select Windows and download this. It is available for free. Okay, once you download this, then you have the option, click on show more options, open git bash here. Okay, so we will open it, and let me make it a little bit big so that it's visible. Okay, I'll run the command git clone and the repository URL. Okay, so we will be able to clone it because it's public, right? So let us type mission. I can see automatically and understood that we are on main branch. Now what we need to do, we need to copy the source code files inside this mission folder. So we will copy this here. Once it is done, we can run the command git add dot, then let me clear the screen, git commit. We need to commit it -m, and the message will be added source code by 𝗵𝗃. Okay, and now we can push it. Now while pushing it will ask for us for authentication. Okay, so we'll type git push origin main, click enter, and you can see it says invalid username password. So I'm going to run it again and let's see what happens. Now it is asking like you need to log in. So we need to provide personal access to two options we have. Either we can go to browser, log in with our username password, or we can just use the token. Token is the preferred way because it's more secure. So we have copied the token on our local. I will copy this, paste it here, click on sign in. Once you do that, automatically the code will be pushed. Okay, just to confirm, we can go back here, click refresh, and you can see it's done, right? Talking about what we are having for the project, Java Spring Boot based it is, and we are using H2 database. Okay, now it's a CRUD operations. In CRUD operations, why I'm talking about CRUD operations? Because in CRUD we have the options to do create something, delete something, read something, and update something. These are default things that we are supposed to do in a project, right? So as someone who want to learn properly, this is the kind of project that you should be working initially. Okay, so we have done this. Now next step would be, so phase 2 is also completed, right? We have created git repo, we have pushed our source code. Phase 3 is to create the CI/CD pipeline, okay, and configure mail notification. So now let us do that. For that we'll go to Jenkins. Okay, now before anything we need to click on manage Jenkins, and here what we need to do, we need to install certain plugins. What plugins we need to install? Let me show you. Click here, and here you can click on available plugins, and let me show you what plugins we need to install. First plugin that I'm just going to go with JDK. So for that I'm going to install JDK Eclipse Demurian installer. Okay, you might be thinking, Aditya, you already installed JDK while setting up Jenkins, why do we need it again? So in case you need to use different version of JDK, for that case you can use this tool. You can set up multiple versions of JDK. Okay, after that I'm going to search for SonarQube scanner. Okay, after that I'm going to search for Docker. This plugin I'm going to install, and Docker pipeline. These two plugins will be installing. Okay, after that Kubernetes also will be needing. So for Kubernetes, this one and CLI. Okay, and yeah, these two also we will select, because even if you don't select, they will be installing, or they'll be getting installed automatically. Why? Because they are dependent. These plugins, Kubernetes and Kubernetes CLI, these are dependent plugins on them. Okay, so these plugins we have selected. Anything else? Yeah, we need to search for this also, config file provider. This one, config file provider, select this, and we need to search here another one, Maven. So Maven integration also I'm installing, and this one also I'm installing. Okay, this is fine. These are the plugins that we need to install. You can just take a screenshot or maybe stop the video and check out all the ones, and then you can install them. Okay, now we need to click on install. Now it's going to take quite some time before we can start installation. Okay, so let's wait for this to complete, and once it is done, then we can proceed to next steps. So team, all the plugins have been installed, but they are not yet configured. So for that we need to go to manage plugins again, and here go to tools. Okay, now one by one, whatever plugins we have installed, we are going to configure them. Okay, so scroll down JDK. Here first let us provide the name as JDK 17. I'm going to configure a JDK 17. Click on install automatically. You know, whatever tools you want to install with reference to the plugin that you have installed, you need to always select the option install automatically. Okay, here you see this option install from wm.net, that is visible because we have installed the Eclipse Tumerian installer plugin. Okay, we are going to select jdk17. I'm going to select this one, scroll down to SonarQube install scanners. Okay, so I'm going to provide the name as Sonar Scanner. Select the version which you want to use. Again, as I said, always go with install automatically. Okay, Maven also will be needing, so Maven, I'll just provide the name as Maven 3, and version I'll just go with maybe 3.6.0 or 3.6.3, anything you can select. It should be compatible. Okay, Docker, so Docker tool also we have installed. I'm just going to select the name Docker, install automatically, and install Docker from docker.com. Okay, so these tools we have configured as of now. Now what we can do, we can start writing our pipeline. Okay, so now click on new item. Let's provide the name as mission. Pipeline name will be mission. Select the option as pipeline because we want to create declarative pipeline. Okay, click on OK. Now, as part of like best practice, we are going to make sure that in the history we just have 2 builds. Okay, scroll down and here select, here we can select sample pipeline. So we'll select the hello world. Okay, after you have selected hello world, now we can start modifying it. Okay, how we can modify? So first thing that you should do, create multiple stages. As of now you can see just one stage is there. So first of all, create multiple stages so that we can modify them afterwards. Okay, 4 stages I have created. Now, first thing that you need to understand that if any tool you want to use in your pipeline, you need to define it somewhere in the pipeline, so that once it is defined in the pipeline, then only it will be available for usage. For example, I want to use Maven and JDK specific versions that we have configured in our tool configuration. Okay, so how we can define? So one way of defining these 2 tools is very easy. We are going to write tools curly braces, and here we need to provide the type of tool. First we have JDK, then in single braces you need to provide name of the tool. I configured JDK17, right? Similarly on next line we will configure for Maven. So Maven is a Maven tool is a kind of Maven. Name that we configured is Maven 3, right? Now these 2 tools will be available in the whole pipeline for usage. Okay, now first stage that we are going to do is git checkout. Okay, after git checkout is successfully completed, next step would be to write the steps for performing git checkout, right? In case you are completely new to pipeline, you don't need to worry about much. You can take help from pipeline syntax. Click on that, it will take you to new page. Okay, and here we'll find git. Once you find git, you need to provide the information. So first we need to provide URL. Now as of now what I have done, I have made this repository private so that I can show you how it will be, like what things we need to do in case the repository is private, right? So first provide the name of repository URL, branch. So branch I have main, right? It says 128 means no credentials provided. That means we need to provide the credentials, right? So select this one, click on Jenkins, and here we need to provide username and password. Instead of password we are going to provide token. Okay, so username is 246. Okay, talking about password, so instead of password we are going to provide the token that we have, right? So I'll copy that, I'll paste it here. ID you can just put anything like get grade or get credentials, anything you want you can put. Make sure you are providing these 2 things. Okay, click on add. Once I have added, I can select it, and now error is gone, right? That means it is working fine. I'll remove these checkboxes, and now we have the command which we can use for checking out the repository. Okay, checking out means creating a local copy of the repository inside the Jenkins. Okay, next step, what I'm going to do, I'm going to perform compilation of the project, and here we are going to write the command. See, when you most of the commands that we are going to execute through Jenkins, it's going to be Linux command or shell commands. So we need to make sure we are including our commands inside shell block. How we can do that? Write as such quotes, and here Maven compile. This will compile the project. Okay, after compilation is successful, I want to perform testing, right? But the problem that we may have with this project is that the test cases in this project are failing. So if that happens, generally, see, if I want to execute test cases, I will write the command mvn test, right? But in case the test cases are failing, what we can do, we can write this d skip test equal to true. This will skip the test cases. Okay, now you might be thinking, Aditya, if we need to skip the test cases, why we are adding this stage? I am adding this stage to show you this. Okay, there is an option for us that we can skip the test cases in case test cases are failing, because our target is to build and deploy. In case test cases are failing, we can immediately inform testing team or developers who is going to fix the issues, right? Meanwhile, we can also continue with our work, so that failing of test cases is not going to cause any issues to us, right? Now that is done. I'm going to create few more stages. Let me create. Okay, and yeah, so test cases like compilation done, test cases done. Now what I want to do, I want to perform a vulnerability scan on our dependencies. Okay, so I'll write the name as 𝗘𝗿𝗃 scan. So 𝗘𝗿𝗃, as of now we have not installed 𝗘𝗿𝗃 on our Jenkins, right? So, and by default in Jenkins does not have a 𝗘𝗿𝗃 plugin. So what we are going to do, we are going to install 𝗘𝗃 directly on Jenkins. Okay, I'll search here as 𝗘𝗃, but we see that 𝗘𝗃 is not found, but we got the command to install 𝗘𝗃, and we are going to install it using snap package. Okay, -y, sorry about that, we don't need to put -y, I guess, in case of snap package manager. Okay, so it's going to install 𝗘𝗃, and let's wait for this to complete. Once it is completed, then we can proceed with the next steps. Okay, yeah, it's almost completed. It's done. Now we can just confirm 𝗘𝗿 version just to check that which version we have installed. And yeah, from here also we can see it has installed 0.49.1. Okay, so 𝗘𝗃 is done. Now we can write the steps for 𝗘𝗃. I will write sh quotes 𝗘𝗃 fs. Fs means file system. 𝗘𝗃 fs -- format. Like basically I'm saying in which format we want to have this scanning performed. So in which format we want the report to be coming. So I want in format of table. Okay, and here what I'm going to write -o for output. Okay, in which file I want the output. So I want the output inside a file known as 𝗘𝗃 fs-report.html. okay, and just I'll put a dot. That dot means scan the current directory. So 𝗘𝗃 scan is done. 𝗘𝗃 scan will be done using this command. Okay, next step. So next step, after 𝗘𝗃 scan is done, we can proceed with SonarQube analysis of our project. So for that, I'm just going to provide the name as SonarQube analysis. Okay, now we need to write the steps. Before we do that, we need to configure certain things. Okay, so first of all, what I'm going to do, I'm going to save this configuration. Once this is done, we can go to dashboard, go to manage Jenkins, go to system. Now in SonarQube we have two things. What two things? In SonarQube basically we have this. First of all, SonarQube we have SonarQube scanner. This tool is going to perform the analysis or perform the scanning. Second, we have SonarQube server. Now this server, the report of the analysis will be uploaded on this server. So these are two different things. Okay, so SonarQube scanner we configured in our tool section. If I try to show you, if I go to manage Jenkins, tools, scroll down to Sonar something. So SonarQube scanner we have configured, right, with the name Sonar scanner, but we have not yet configured the server where exactly we want to upload the analysis report. So for that we can click on system, scroll down, and you will find one option as SonarQube servers, right? Click on add SonarQube, and here we can provide some name. Okay, we need to provide the URL of SonarQube and authentication token, right? So first of all, go to SonarQube server, click on administration, security, users, and tokens. Okay, you can provide any name you want, like let's say Sonar token or anything you can just put, and select the expiration and click on generate. Now this is the token that we are going to use for authentication. That means first of all we need to add the token inside credentials. Okay, so I'll click on manage Jenkins, scroll down credentials, and we are going to add another credentials. Okay, on add. Kind will be secret text because it's just a token, right? We are going to paste the token here. ID will be sonar-token. Description also same thing you can put. Copy that, paste it here, click on create. Okay, so now this is done. We can go to manage Jenkins system, and now we can configure the server. Scroll down to SonarQube servers, add SonarQube, and let us provide a name as Sonar. Talking about URL, so URL we can get from here till 9000. Okay, copy that, paste it here. Make sure that you remove slash. After that, SonarQube authentication token. So token is now present, right? So now we have configured server also, we have configured the tool also. Now we can write the stages. Click on configure. Now, as I mentioned before to you, that any tool that you want to use, any third-party tool that you install through plugins, so you need to define them in your pipeline. Then only they will be available for usage. So for SonarQube scanner also we need to define it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to create an environment for it. In curly braces, we are going to define the environment. Name is going to be scanner_home equal to tool and the name of scanner. So as you remember, we have configured the name as sonar-scanner, right? Tool is configured. Now we can write the stages here. Okay, so now stages also we need to write inside the specific block. What kind of block I'm talking about? So if I go to pipeline syntax, in case you forgot, we can just go here, click on pipeline syntax, expand it, and you'll find with SonarQube or something like that. You see this with SonarQube environment. Click on that, select the token, generate this script, copy this, paste it here. Now few changes we need to do actually in this. It's quite interesting actually. You see, we have providing credentials token. So instead of providing credential token, we can just provide the name of SonarQube server that we configured, which is Sonar, if you remember, right? Where I am getting that thing, click on manage Jenkins. If I go to system, scroll down to SonarQube servers, you see we have configured a server already, which is named Sonar, which has username, which has URL and token, both of them. So we are just defining that Sonar server name here. Okay, now we can write the stages steps here. Okay, shell command, and this time I'm going to use 3 quotes. 3 quotes means if you have multiple lines of code, you can use 3 quotes. Okay, now first thing that I'm going to do is call my environment variable that I created above, which is this one, right? So I'll copy this, paste it here, and where exactly the tool will be inside the home folder, home directory, it's going to be inside bin folder /sonar-scanner. Okay, so now we are calling the scanner tool to perform the analysis, right? Now we need to provide certain arguments which we are going to basically the name of project, the resources file, all those things. Let me show you. -d and the sonar.project key capital, do not forget. Key will be, let's say I am just going to provide the name as mission. Next argument will be the sonar.project name and capital equal to same thing I'm going to put mission. Okay, now next, let's say I want to write in next line, so I'll just put a slash here. Another argument I'm going to write the sonar.java.binaries. So basically we need to provide the location of Java binaries file. Okay, so it's going to be see, 2 things we can do. Generally it exists inside a folder known as target folder. Okay, inside that folder we have. In case you are not sure where exactly it is present, you can just put a dot also, that will also work fine. Okay, for now I'll just put a dot, and here we can close this using 3 dots, 3 quotes. Okay, now this stage is completed. Next stage, what I want to do, I want to build my application. So I'll write build, and here in commands I'm going to write sh and double quotes mvn package. Okay, this will build the application. For now, let us run all the stages just to see if it is working fine or not, or else we are having any issues. Okay, so I'll execute it and let's see the here. Now let me explain you a few things. So what is happening here, since we ran it for the first time, so whatever tools we have defined in our pipeline, it's going to be getting installed. And these things, unpacking, these two things you are seeing, unpacking, so this will happen just for one time because installation happens just one time. Okay, so after this is completed, it's going to start the execution of whatever initial stage, whatever the stages that we have given. Okay, so three tools we defined, right? We defined Sonar Scanner, we defined JDK, we defined Maven. So all three unpacking done, right? Now it says started to git checkout, and now first step is to compile the source code, right? Now we can scroll down at the end, and yeah, so compilation done. You can see it says build success. So compilation is successfully done. Okay, then we have test cases, and again it's going to just compile because test cases we have already skipped here. Okay, scroll down. Okay, so we have some failure, and let us see what issue we are having. Okay, okay, so some home directories are outside of /home needs configuration. Okay, so let us fix this. So team, to solve that issue, what I have done, instead of installing 𝗘𝗿𝗃 from snap, basically first of all I ran this command snap remove 𝗘𝗃. So the package that was installed with snap, I just removed it. Okay, after that, from the official page of 𝗘𝗃, I installed using this command. I just copied it, pasted it directly, and it installed. Okay, now what we can do, we can try to run our pipeline again to see if it works or not. Okay, so I have triggered it, and let's see what happens now. This time it should not be having any issue with respect to 𝗘𝗃 because 𝗘𝗃 should be available now. Yes, now as you see, it has started to perform the analysis. Okay, and report is generated in a separate file. That is good thing. Talking about SonarQube, so SonarQube has also started, and let's see how much time does it take. So once these processes are done, we'll be having a few more steps, which is like publishing the artifacts to Nexus, then building the Docker image, scanning Docker image, publishing the Docker image to a repository, and finally what we are going to do is deploy the application to Kubernetes cluster, in our case EKS cluster. Okay, if I go here, let's wait for this to complete. Okay, we have some error again. Let us fix that as well. Test cases failure, right? So as I said, key test cases we can skip actually. How we can skip? Because as I said, this project is having failed test cases. So what I can do, I can put here -d skip test equal to true. This is going to skip the test cases and execute all of the stages. Okay, so we have saved it, and let us run it again. And yeah, so let's wait for it. See, that's why team, I say ki watching the videos completely will be more helpful for you, because if you don't watch it completely, you won't see what kind of error we are getting, right? So these kind of errors you can even explain in interviews. Okay, we had a scenario of failed test cases, and we wanted to check the source code if it is running or not. So we just skip the test cases and we proceeded with the execution. Okay, so now let's wait for this to complete. Now you can see it is successful. Okay, so now it's good, and we have successful stages. Okay, now what we can do, we can proceed with our next stages. Okay, so next stages, what we have, next stages, we need to publish the artifact to Nexus right here. Okay, if I go to browse, we have these two things. You can see Maven releases and Maven snapshots. Difference between them, releases contains the artifacts that is going to be deployed to production server. Snapshots contain the artifact that is deployed, that is supposed to be deployed to lower server. Okay, now team, before we start with the Nexus stages, what we need to do, we need to do some configuration in POM file. And this is also the answer to the questions of lots of people you have asked, who edits the POM file. Developer is mainly going to do that, but there are certain things that we are going to do. Okay, so I'll edit this file and go at the end, file somewhere where dependencies end. Here, add this section, distribution management. Here you need to provide the URL from your Nexus repository, right? So if I go to Nexus, open the Maven releases, sorry, you can see the Maven releases, you can click on copy, copy the URL of Maven releases and paste it here. Okay. Similarly for Maven snapshots also we can get the URL and paste it here. Yeah, somewhere here. Now you can understand this key. Okay, we have provided the Nexus repository URL, but still the authentication is not done because we have just provided URL of the repository, not the passwords, right? So where do we configure that? So let me show you that as well. First, let me save this. We can go to dashboard, manage Jenkins, and you remember initially while installing plugins, I installed a plugin known as config file provider. Okay, because of that, this file you will be able to see managed files. So click on that, click on add new config, click on global Maven settings, and here you can just provide any name, something like that, key Maven settings. It's a settings file, settings.xml file that is going to be used for authentication. So click on next, scroll down, and here you will find some things, some like servers. Okay, you see details here, server. So let me uncomment it. Okay, now here we need to provide the ID. ID is what? ID is the name of repository. In our case, it's going to be Maven releases. So I'm going to copy this, Maven releases, and where is it? Jenkins. Paste here. Talking about password, sorry, username. So username is admin. Password we need to provide, right? And password is Aditya. Let me just confirm it. I can try to log in again, sign in, admin, and password. Okay, yeah, so password is correct. Same thing we need to do for Maven snapshots. So I'm going to copy this, paste it here. Okay, here instead of releases we just going to update snapshots. As I explained, the difference between these two, releases is basically for production servers and snapshots are for lower environment servers. Okay, click on submit. Configuration is done, right? Again we can open our pipeline and we can write these stages. So click on configure, go at the end, open the pipeline syntax. Meanwhile, let me close this. Yeah, here we'll find something with Maven. So let us search for that. With Maven, provide Maven environment, right? So Maven we will select, JDK we will select, settings files, default, and global settings. So global settings is this one, my global settings, the one that we just created. Okay, so yeah, click on generate, and fine, you can see the name Maven setting, the name that we provided. So we are going to copy this, paste it here. Okay, and also rename this to deploy artifacts to Nexus. Okay, let me correct the name. And let us write the command. Okay, so command that we are going to write, it's going to be something like this: sh double quotes mvn deploy. Now it's going to deploy the artifact to Nexus. And again, as I said, key in Maven lifecycle, if you have watched my previous videos, you might know key if you run deploy, so previous stages are also going to run. That means key the stage for running test cases is also going to run, which we don't want. So I'm going to skip the test cases here as well. Skip test equal to true. Okay, this is fine. Now we need to add few more stages, which is going to be for building Docker images. Okay, so let us do that. And this name I'm going to build and tag Docker image. Okay, now we need to write the stages steps for building the Docker image. So first of all, we need to create a script block, and inside this script block we'll be writing our stages. Okay, again for Docker also we can go to pipeline syntax, search for with Docker registry. Since it's a public Docker registry, so we don't need to provide the URL, but we need to still provide the credentials. So we can click on add, and let us add our credentials. Username is going to be 𝗭𝗲𝗃𝗏, and password is something. Okay, so once you add all those things, you can provide the name as the credentials name docker grid. Copy that and paste it here. Click on add, select the credentials, select the tool that you configured in that tools configuration, and then we have this block. So we will copy this, paste it here inside the script block. Okay, now this is done. So now we are going to write the command sh docker build -t and docker image name that we want to build. Okay, so I want to build docker image name 𝗗𝗲𝗿𝗀, which is my username in docker. We need to make sure that select your username and after that your image name mission, and I want to create latest and a dot means the docker file is in the current directory. But as of now, let me save this. As of now, we don't have docker file in our project, right? So team, now what we have to do, we have to write the docker file, right? So writing a docker file, it's not so hard. Basically, first we need to decide like what base image we want. So the base image that I have selected, it's a Linux base image with JDK 11 installed. I have to expose 8080 port. Why? Because my application is a Java based application. When I execute the Java based application, it's going to create its own Tomcat server which will be running on port 8080. That means I need to expose the port 8080. Then we are creating an app home directory which is going to be user /app, and then the jar file that we have of our application, we are going to copy inside this directory inside a new file app.jar. Then we just need to execute this jar file, and that's what we have in our docker file. So I'll copy this and we will paste it here. It's a general docker file which you can write for any other Java based application as well. Okay, why I'm saying it's general, because we are using star.jar and we are just renaming it to app.jar. So now after writing this, we can commit the changes. So changes are done, right? Now what I can do, I can go ahead to my pipeline, and yeah, this is fine. So this is like building and tagging of the Docker image. Next step that I want to do is basically scan my Docker image so that I can find out if there is any vulnerability in our Docker image as well or not. Okay, so let me create another stage which is going to be for 𝗘𝗲𝗿, and here I'm writing 𝗘𝗲𝗿 scan image. Okay, let me rename the above one, which was 𝗘𝗲𝗿 scan file system. Okay, and now here we need to scan our 𝗘𝗲𝗿 Docker image. So I will write 𝗘𝗲𝗿 image format table, and here name report name will be image, and here we need to provide the docker image name, which is in our case this one, right? So I'll copy that, I'll paste it here. This is fine. Next step that we have is to publish the Docker image to our Docker Hub repository. So here let us rename this to publish Docker image. Okay, and here I'm going to write the command docker push, then image name. Let's make sure that you are removing that's dot. Okay, so this is done. Now two stages pending, which is Kubernetes deployment stage and another stage which is post notifications mail. Okay, one more thing team we can do, like before we deploy the application to production server, we should be testing it to a local deployment plus we should be also doing like a lower environment deployment. So how we can do, for example, I can write dev deployment. Okay, create the pipeline, and half of the stages like till docker push we have already written. Okay, so I'm going to copy those steps here. In addition to that, I have added one more stage which is deploy to container, and here I'm just running the Docker image that we have on port 8080. Okay, so let us run this and let us check out what is going to happen here. One thing that I'm going to change now, it's going to be the SonarQube project name, so we can have two projects. Okay, save this and now we can run it. So this will take few minutes. Okay, yeah, so pipeline has started and it will take few minutes to completely get over with, and after that we can like see the application running in a container. Okay, so this will be like our dev deployment. The purpose of dev deployment is to check if the application is running fine or not. Okay, that is the main purpose. After that, we can proceed with deploying the application to a production server. Okay, so let us test it out. And here also I have added the mail notification, so we can just confirm if mail notification is sent or not. Let's wait for this. Okay, so Docker image is built, we have scanned it, and now Docker image is getting pushed. After it is pushed, then we should be able to see the Docker container created or not. Okay, because I have ran the command to create the Docker container as well, so let's wait for that as well. Okay, small error you might be able to see here ki port 8080 is already being used. Why? The issue is that ki port 8080 is being used for the Jenkins, right? So in order to fix that, what we can do, we can change the port. How we can change that? We can scroll down here, and I'm going to change the host port, right? So host port I'm going to change to, let's say, 8083. Container port is same, we don't need to worry about that, but host port I'll change to 8083, and let us run it again, and now this time it should be working fine. Okay, so let's wait for this to complete. Second time, since we are running it second time, so it should not take too much of like time period to complete, but yeah, let's see. Meanwhile, here also we can check. I can refresh the page, and yeah, here also the results are available. Okay, let's wait for this to complete. Maven package is being done, and yeah, we should be having the artifacts also updated. We can have now 6 versions of artifacts. Okay, yeah, so image is built, now it is getting pushed, and now we should be able to create the container. Okay, so let's wait for this to complete. Docker run is completed. Now in order to access it, what we can do, we can go to our EC dashboard. Jenkins, we have like running it in Jenkins server, and port I have given 8083. So let's see now. You can see application is running, right? In order to see the application, we can, let's say, I want to, these are the some heroes available, right? Let's say I want to check the missions for Austin Powers. Click on that, click on go, and as of now Austin Powers does not have any mission. So let us create a mission. Mission title will be free hero or something, anything you can write. I want to create it for Austin Powers. Gadget 1 will be a watch and a gun. Okay, create mission. Mission is created. Back to home. Now if I want to see the missions for Austin Powers, we should be able to see the mission that it has a mission named free hero. Okay, similar to that we have other things also, like for Natasha also we have, as of now it has to kill Iron Man, so and so. Okay, so yeah, so that means our application is running fine over the dev deployment. Now we can proceed when deploy the application to the this server. We can deploy the applications now to production server. Okay, so let's do that. So team, in order to get started with like deployment of application to Kubernetes server, first thing that we need to do is follow RBAC, so that like we can make it secure. So what we are going to do, we are going to create a service account, and we are going to use the service account to perform the deployment. Okay, so how you are going to perform that, let me explain you, let me show you. Okay, so first of all, we are going to copy this, and we are going to create script inside Jenkins. We have this script as of now, so we are going to create another YAML file which is going to be deployed to Kubernetes cluster. Okay, for example, also just to make sure that we are having access to Kubernetes cluster, if I run the command kubectl get nodes, so you can see we are having access. That means okay, now let us create YAML file which is going to be svc.yaml. Any name you can put. The purpose is to create the service account. Okay, I can see it says service account we need to create, and the namespace will be web apps. That means we need to make sure that name web apps namespace is present, right? So for now I'll save this, And now let us create new namespace, which is going to be 𝗘𝗿𝗃 create namespace named web apps. Okay, create namespace web apps. So now web apps is created, right? Now what we can do, we can apply the YAML file that we created, 𝗘𝗿𝗃 apply -f. YAML file is svc.yaml. Now it will be created inside the web apps namespace. Okay, so now we have created service account. Now what we are going to do, we are going to create a role that will be having specific level of permissions. What permissions it will be having? It will be having permissions of like these kind of permissions. Sorry, this will be API groups. The resources on which it will be having access are this. And talking about what kind of permissions, so it has permission to get read something, list something, watch, create, update, patch, and delete. Okay, so we are going to create this role, and next afterwards we are going to assign this role to our service account, so that service account can have permissions to perform the deployment. Okay, so I'm going to create role.yaml, paste the content here, save this, and now we are going to apply this 𝗘𝗿𝗃 apply -f, then role.yaml. Okay, and let me just confirm this is also created in the namespace. Yeah, inside the namespace it is created. Now role we have created, service account we have created. Now we need to assign this role to our service account. So for that we are going to create role binding resource. Okay, copy that and create a vi, and I'll rb.yaml, paste the content here just to confirm service account name is Jenkins, and yeah, namespace is web apps. So this is fine. Save this, and now we can run this 𝗘𝗿𝗃 apply -f rb. Okay, now that service account that we created, now it has the permission to perform the deployment. Okay, but how do we authenticate from Jenkins to here? So for that we need to create a token for our service account, and let me show you how we can do that. So I can click on this. This will take me to another page of Kubernetes official documentation page, and here we have new YAML file, which is to create the token for my service account. Okay, basically creating a secret. So I'll copy this, and let us create new file, which is going to be vi svc-secret.yaml. We are going to paste the content here. Now let us verify a few things. First of all, we need to change the service account name, because our service account name is Jenkins. Okay, so I'll provide the name as Jenkins. Let me just confirm J capital or small. If I go here, we have, this is capital or small. One second, let me just copy this, and I'm going to paste it here. Okay, or it's small only. Let us save this. One thing you might notice that there is no namespace defined, right? But our purpose is to create this secret inside the namespace. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to run the command 𝗘𝗿𝗃 apply -f svc-secret -n, then namespace name, which in our case is web apps. Now this service secret is going to be created inside the namespace. Okay, click enter, and yeah, so it is created. Next step is that we need to create the token, because still we have created secret but we have not taken the token. So what I'm going to do, we need to describe our file that we just created. So how we can do that, I'll just copy this, go here, paste it here. What is this command? It's basically describing the secret that we created. We just need to change the namespace name, in our case which is web apps, right? This is done. Click enter. It's going to generate a secret token. You can see this is a token. So I'm going to copy this token, and now let us go to Jenkins. Save this. Meanwhile, let me paste the token somewhere safe so that later we can use it. So this is the token that we are going to use for authentication. Okay, coming back to Jenkins. Now here in pipeline syntax, search for kube credentials or something related to kube config. Okay, this one, first one you see with kube config. One second. Yeah, so this here we can configure. So first of all, let us add the token that we have generated. So kind will be secret text we can paste here. ID will be K8-token. Same thing we will write in description as well. click on add. Now select the configuration. Server endpoint it is asking, so that we can go to services, Elastic Kubernetes service. This is our cluster. Here you see API server endpoint, so copy that, paste it here. Talking about cluster name, so that also we can get it. This is our cluster name, so I'll just copy that as well, paste it here. Context name you don't need to put. Web namespace you can put like web apps, and rest of the things is fine. Okay, now what we can do, we are good to go ahead and start doing the deployment. So I'll copy this block. Okay, we need to create another stage, right? So I'll copy this, paste it here, and this name will be deploy to 𝗘𝗲𝗃. Okay, and here we need to write the block that we just created. Which block? This is the block I'm talking about. So I'll copy that and paste it here. Okay, this is done, and now we can write the command for performing the deployment. So we can write sh_kubectl apply -f, and we need to provide a deployment service file, right? Basically we need to provide a YAML file, YAML manifest file, which will be used for deployment, right? As of now our project does not have that, so what we need to do, we need to create a new one. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to take that YAML file from some other project and modify it to use it for our own project. Okay, so in board game, let's see if we have that YAML file. This is the YAML file that I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm going to edit this file, copy the contents of it, copy that, and now we can go back to our project, add the file here, content will add here, and let us provide the name as ds.yaml. Okay, and what things we need to change? We need to change the Docker image name first of all. What is the Docker image name in our case? It's this one, right? So I'm going to copy this, and here we need to add the image name. That part is done. Now we need to add this these names also. Wherever it's written board game, we are going to modify it to mission. Okay, copy that. Here also board game, here also board game, here also. So much board games, bro. Okay, and here also we are going to write as mission, and yeah, so we are going to use load balancer for accessing the application, so that we can have a separate URL for accessing our application. Okay, and let me check if anything else we need to modify. Rest of the things seems fine to me. Yeah, if any error comes, we are going to fix it. Okay, so I'm going to save this. This is done. Now we can provide the name ds.yaml here, -f ds.yaml. Okay, and we can even define where exactly our application deployment can be done. We can define it's going to be done on web apps folder. Okay, after that, what I can do, I can run one command, sleep 60. That means it's this, after this deployment is successful, it's going, the terminal is going to wait for 60 seconds. Why I'm doing that? So that because next step we are going to verify the deployment, if deployment is successful or not, right? So that will be taking some time. So 60 seconds will be more than enough for it, deployment to be completed. So I'm going to add another stage, which is going to be verify deployment. And here I'm going to write the steps, kubectl get pods, and one more command that I'll be writing will be kubectl get svc. Okay, so this is going to verify deployment. Now these stages are successful, not successful as of now, we have not yet ran, right? Next stage, what I need to add, I need to add mail notifications configuration also, so that once the pipeline is completed, we can receive the notification mail over our email address. Okay, so let us configure that as well. So team, now pipeline is set up. Now let us do one thing, let us set up our this mail notification thing. Okay, so for that, first of all, make sure that in your security group you have 465 port open, because this is the port for Gmail SMTP server. Okay, So now what you need to do, first of all, make sure, like if I go here, open manage Google account. Okay, so in manage Google account, go to security and make sure that this two-step verification it's on. Okay, once it is on, then what you can do, you can go to this URL. This URL you can find in the document and post it here. Yeah, so now we need to provide the password for our this one for our mail. Let me provide and let me log in. That is it. Yeah, so let me put the password. Actually multiple MFA setup on my phone, so yeah, I need to, and now we should be able to log in. Continue. Okay, so now what you need to do, you need to provide a names. Okay, I'll provide Jenkins. Click on create, and this password that you see, it's just a password for the email notification. Using this password, nothing else you can do. Okay, still we need to save it somewhere, so I'll just copy and paste it here. Once you are done this, simply click on OK. Now go back to pipeline. Okay, now what we need to do, first of all, open Jenkins, new page, go to manage Jenkins, and here go to system and scroll down till you find something like email notification or something like that. Okay, so let's see, it should be somewhere else, somewhere extended email notification, and we have one more thing, this email notification. Okay, so now talking about SMTP server. So for Gmail SMTP server, it's going to be smtp.gmail.com. okay, expand this and make sure you are selecting these two options. Here we need to provide SMTP authentication. It's going to be the email address that you have, put it there, and the password is going to be the one that we just saved, app password. Okay, so I'll copy that and paste it here. Now scroll down here, SMTP4 port, it's going to be 465. Okay, click on save. Okay, let's go back to manage Jenkins system. I'm not sure like why it took us back. Okay, now still email notification, this is configured, password is also done. Okay, so now let us test it. Okay, and I'm going to provide my email address, the one that on which we want to receive the mail notification. Do this, click on test configuration, and yeah, you can see it says email was successfully sent. Okay, now scroll up on, we have extended email notification with more configuration, so that we need to configure now. Okay, here it's going to be smtp.gmail.com, SMTP port 465, expand advanced credentials. Click on Jenkins and let us configure credentials. Credentials is going to be, first of all, 𝗗𝗏𝗄𝗏, like your email which using which you are going to configure. Okay, so this will be the email address, and talking about password, so it's going to be the password that we just created. Go back here, put it here, and here we can put mail-grid. Same thing I'll paste here. Okay, let me just check. Okay, add. Now we can select it. Make sure that you have selected use SSL. Okay, rest everything seems fine to me. Okay, rest of the things are fine, so I can just click on apply. Now in order to add the steps in our pipeline, what we need to do, we need to go to second last bracket. Okay, and here we need to add our steps that we need to add. It's going to be this. I'm going to copy till here, paste it here. What I mean to say that we are copying our that step on pipeline level outside the stages. Okay, that is done, and let me see if it is fine. Okay, click on apply and let us trigger it, and let's see if there is an error or so. So it has started. Okay, now this might take a little bit of time because we have tons of stages. Okay, so yeah, let's wait for this to complete and then I'll be back. Team pipeline is completed, and I think deployment is also completed. Okay, this is the load balancer URL also we got, right? And we have received notification email also. So let us check out everything and let's verify everything. First of all, on my SonarQube page, so we should be able to see last 3 minutes ago, last analysis was done, out of which 26 is the code coverage, code smell is 30, bugs are 40. There are total 1.2 K lines. Okay, let us check out Nexus also. So here if I go, username is going to be admin and password was Aditya. Okay, sign in and let us see here, browse, and in Maven releases nothing, Maven snapshot we should be having the artifact. Okay, now here see I have ran pipelines for 4 times, so you can see there are 4 pipelines available. Sorry, we have 4 artifacts available. Each one of them is jar file only. Okay, so Nexus is also working fine. Now let's check out the Docker images. So if I go to Docker images, go to containers and let us sign in. So here we should be able to see our Docker images that we just built. Okay, let's wait for this to come up. Okay, you can see this is the one that we just downloaded. It was pushed last 3 minutes ago. Okay, that means these stages are working fine. Now what we can do, we can check out the pods if they are running or not. So I can run 𝗘𝗿𝗃 get all -n web apps, because our resources, whatever we are created, they are running inside namespace web apps, right? Now let us see. So we have the pods up and running and service is also up and running, right? We have the URL also. Now just to verify that our application, if it is running successfully or not, what we can do, we can check out the logs of our pod. So let us check that as well. kubectl logs and the pod name. So we have 2 pods. I can check out one of them, -n web apps, because they are existing inside namespace. Okay, so here also we are able to see that Tomcat has started and application is running. Okay, that means our application is successfully running. Now what we want to do, we want to perform monitoring on our application. Okay, so let us do that. Team, now let us do one thing. Let us set up monitoring. Okay, so for monitoring, first of all we are going to download Prometheus. Okay, so for Prometheus I'm going to download zip file. So I'm going to copy you can go to this link and you can go to download section, and for Prometheus you can just copy the link of download. Okay, and I'm going to do everything on the Jenkins server itself. So first I'm going to run the command. Okay, before that I will create a separate directory for all these things. Okay, dir monitoring. Okay, and let us go to monitoring, and now we can download the files and folders. Okay, so I'm going to download the package for Prometheus first. Okay, so Prometheus is downloaded now. Okay, so once it is downloaded, we need to extract it. So I'm going to run that command also, tar-xvf then Prometheus. Okay, so it is extracted. Now we have these 2 folders. First of all, I'm going to rename our extracted folder. I'm going to rename it to Prometheus. Okay, and now we can remove the tar file. Okay, Now let us go inside Prometheus folder. We have these many files, okay, out of which Prometheus, this is the executable file, so we can execute it. If I want to execute it in background, I can run the command Prometheus okay, sorry about that, I need to run it in background, so I need to run ampersand also so that it runs in background. Okay, and talking about where it will be running, so by default it will be running on port 9090. So let us access it. Okay, I can get the IP address of the machine, go here, and now we can access it on port 9090. That means Prometheus is running. As of now, we are just collecting the metrics from the local server. Okay, next thing that I want to do, since our like our application is running on the same server, as of now I have deployed the application through container. Okay, so application is running on the same server, you can see the through URL. Okay, so we are going to monitor it. So next thing that we need to download is going to be black box exporter. Again, copy the link address for the package here, let us download it. Okay, it's downloaded and we have these files, so let us extract it. tar-xvf black box. Once it is extracted, let us rename it to just black box exporter. Okay, and let us delete the zip file. Okay, now we have these two folders, so let us go inside black box. Here we have these many files and folders. Okay, so now I'm going to execute black box. Again, I'm going to run it in background using ampersand. Okay, and black box is running on port 9115. Okay, so let us access this as well. I'll copy the IP address, paste it here, and port is 9115. Okay, and you can see black box is also running. Next thing that we need to download, it's going to be node exporter, this one. So I'm going to copy the package name, package URL. Okay, come out here, and here I'm going to download it. So we have downloaded node exporter as well, so let us extract it. tar-xvf node exporter. Once it is done, we can rename it using mv command. Yeah, I want to rename it to node underscore exporter. Let us remove this zip file. Okay, now we have exporter also ready, so let us go inside exporter, and we have the executable file node exporter. So I'm going to execute it by running the command /node exporter ampersand. Okay, it's running on port 9100. Okay, so let us access this as well, and then we can proceed with the next steps. So port was 9100, sorry about that. Okay, so node exporter is also running. So team, next up what we need to do, we need to basically edit this file prometheus.yaml. Okay, so let's do this. We need to, for node export, for black box exporter, we need to add this configuration. You can find it on Prometheus official GitHub page. Okay, let me copy from here to here. Once it is copied, we can paste it in the YAML file. Let's go at the end and make sure the indentation is correct, because if not, then you will see the errors. And I have pasted it, and let's see, seems fine to me. Now what things we need to add, we need to First of all, here in replacement, we need to add the IP address of the machine where black box exporter is running. So in our case, we are running it on this Jenkins server. You copy the IP address and paste it. Okay. Next thing that we need to modify is the URL that we want to monitor. So let's say two URLs is like Prometheus.io. Third URL that I want to monitor is my application URL. So I'll copy that and I will paste it here. Okay. This is fine, and this we have set up for black box. Now let's talk about what we need to set up for node exporter as well. Okay, so I'll go back to repository. Here we have this section, so I'm going to copy this and let us add this as well. Okay, now this we need to modify a little bit because this is going to be for node exporter. So what we need to do, let us modify it with the name first, which is going to be node exporter, and then we need to modify IP address, which is going to be for our application. Okay, this is the IP address. So let us paste it here. Okay, and node exporter is running on which port? So we can check it. It is running on port 9100, right? So we are going to put it 9100. Okay, save this. Just make sure key configuration, the indentation is correct. Seems fine to me. I'll save this. Okay, now what we need to do, we need to stop the services that we just ran. Black box, node exporter, Prometheus. So no, basically what we need to know, we need to restart Prometheus service. Okay, so what we can do, pgrep, and we can search for Prometheus. So this is the ID of Prometheus service running. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to stop it using this command. Prometheus is stopped. Now we can restart it again. Prometheus ampersand, and it should be running again. We can check it by refreshing the page. Okay, you can see one by one, black box exporter, node exporter, everything is added now, right? And as of now the state is unknown. That means it will take little bit of time to completely get up, and you can see now everything is up. That means it is able to perform monitoring. Okay, now what we need to do, we need to set up Grafana. Okay, so we can search here Grafana download, click on this link, and we have the commands to download the Grafana. Okay, so we can run these commands. First we have to run this. Let me come out of this. Okay, and let me create a separate folder for Grafana. First command this one. After that we have the command to download the deb package. So let us run that as well. And finally we just need to run the dpackage command. So I'll copy that and let's wait for this to complete. Now we need to depackage the package that we downloaded, right? Side by side we are also going to get the command to start Grafana. Okay, you can see here you can start Grafana server by executing this. Okay, so let us execute this and Grafana should be started. How we can confirm? We can get the IP address, paste it here, and it should be running on port 3000, I guess. Yes, it is running, right? Default username password is going to be admin, so we are going to put that. Click on login. Now we need to update our password, so I'm just going to put a new password. Okay, now what we need to do, we just need to attach our data source, and then we can start by creating the dashboards. So in connection you can find multiple data sources. Here we need to search for Prometheus. Okay, and you can click on add new data source. You need to provide Prometheus URL. So we have this somewhere, yeah, here. So I'm going to copy this. Let me close this page and paste it here. Authentication, as of now we are not having any authentication, so we'll just leave it as it. Save and test, and it is running fine, right? So Prometheus we have added. Next up, what we need to do now is we can create dashboards. Okay, so let us search for dashboard here. First I'll search for node exporter dashboard, and you can open the first link where you will find the ID. Okay, once you copy the ID, you can click here and click on new dashboard, click on import dashboard, and you can put the ID here, click on load, and here you need to select the Prometheus data source that you have just configured. Click on import, and now you can see all the information about how much CPU is being used, how much RAM is being used, all those information. Not just that, there are a lot of other informations as well. For example, if I put it to 5 minutes, you will see different data. All these kinds of data will be visible to you. This also you can change. We can change it to like 5 seconds. So every 5 seconds our information will be getting updated. Okay, so this is fine, and let's see. Yeah, so this is done. Now let us create another dashboard for monitoring the website, right? Click on new dashboard, import dashboard. Now here this time we are going to search as black box exporter. Sorry, black box exporter Grafana dashboard. You can search. Click on the first link, get the ID, and put it here. Click on load, select the data source Prometheus, click on import, and now we are having the data. And let me update it. So here all the 3 websites we are monitoring. This is our application website, this is Prometheus HTTP, and this is Prometheus HTTPS. So all those things we can monitor together. Status, as you can see, it says up. That means key website is up and running now. Okay, and other information also will be there, HTTP duration and probe duration. Okay, so yeah, this is how monitoring can be done very easily. So check this out. And yeah team, that will be all for today's video. I hope this was really useful for you.